So, for all of you that like to celebrate the new year, happy 2022. 222. Ugh. Wow, I've forgotten how to do intros. Let's try this again. Oof. Okay, so it's the new year, and as always, it's that time of the year where everyone likes to do, resolutions and plans, and this year's gonna be better, and all of these things. I'm actually trying to actively not think like that. And the reasons why will come clear as we continue on with today's vlog. As some of you have probably noticed, this has been the longest delay between episodes, for good reason. Things were busy, as always. It's been a thing where I've been talking about that a lot in the past couple of months. You know, ever since the MCO stopped and we could all start shooting and stuff. Like, if you've been following this vlog from its beginning, you can see that suddenly things ramp up, and like episode after episode, I'm just talking about how tired I am and how packed up with work I am, and trying to deal with that, which has been tricky. It has been the main thing for the past 3 months, the main conundrum, how to deal with all of that. And I actually recorded what should be this episode about, say, a week and a bit back. Yeah, about a week ago. And you would have seen a very different person to who you're seeing talking to you right now. In fact, let's have a look at that guy. Let's try this again. Yeah, that dude was tired. Don't get me wrong, I'm still tired, you know? I'm still very exhausted. That cannot be denied. And already with that vlog, while shooting that episode, a bunch of stuff had already happened, which really made me start thinking about my approach to things. In a nutshell, that episode that would have been, I would have talked about how I went through, like, I guess, the lowest of the low point over a weekend whilst I was shooting the final play that I had to shoot at KLPAC. And during that time, it was that weekend where it was just raining nonstop in Malaysia. And I was already exhausted and packed and still woozy from my booster shot. And my car got a flat tire. It was storming, couldn't change the tire, even dropped all my equipment in the rain at one point. Wasn't feeling well. The next day, came back to hopefully just be able to change the tire. And because I have these funky sports rims, the attachment to take the bolts out broke. Then the next day again, trying to sort out this fucking tire just so I can bring it back home and get all the tires replaced. It was this big ordeal, and you know, that attachment to loosen the bolt, when that broke, that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. Because I was trying to keep in a positive mindset regardless. But that point, you know, it's always those little things that just snap you. That was the little snap. And I felt so fucked up after that, because it really dawned on me that I wasn't gonna get a break between then and when I start shooting the TV series. So technically I wouldn't get a break till probably Chinese New Year, because we take a week off during Chinese New Year. Thank God. That realization that I'd been working nonstop for like 2.5 months, and I would continue working nonstop without a decent moment to recuperate. Because all those times that I did manage to get a rest, it was basically because, you know, it was an off day, but I had work planned on that day, you know, like editing. But my body just goes, fuck you, you need to rest. Body has a way of doing that. So yeah, I was fucked. And by the time I managed to get the car out and got it at a mechanic, and I was just having lunch with my dad, I finally started scrolling through my social media because I'd been staying away from it that weekend. And when I started scrolling through, I really saw what happened over that weekend, you know? It really put things in perspective, because for those that might not be in this country, that rain didn't stop from like Friday morning to Sunday afternoon. Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, around there. and shit got flooded. Like, a lot of people's homes were just flooded to fuck. You know, and as I'm scrolling through this, I'm seeing just how much devastation happened, and it was in my state. Usually, like, things like this, especially during monsoon season, happens more on the East Coast, but no, it was not too far away from where I lived. I could have just been a couple of so kilometers either direction, and I could have been stuck in this thing. You know, that's just a fact. And seeing people whose homes were destroyed, people whose relatives were on life support at home, trying to figure out how the fuck to get them out, seeing a very poor response from the government, seeing other individuals, just regular Malaysians, doing their bit to help these people out. There's one DP I know who just went out with his 4x4. He had an inflatable dinghy, so he went out and just took the dinghy out and just tried to save as many people as he could, get them out of there. One of the actors from Showdown, you know, his area got flooded and he was there trying to rescue his neighbor's cats who were just stuck in a cage, and they were on the topmost platform just meowing for their lives. My dad's friend was stuck on a roof. He was stuck on his own roof for like 3 days. My brother's worker was stuck in waters about armpit high at home. And seeing all these people helping out, doing their bit, and all these people who were all fucked, just displaced. Shit got crazy that weekend. And I was bitching about a flat tire and having too much work. So that helped put things in perspective. But again, that guy that was in the episode that could have been, I mean, just look at his face. That guy was fucking exhausted. I had come to that realization, like, okay, things could have been a shitload worse. And I'm incredibly fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. But it still didn't change the fact that I was physically and mentally exhausted to hell. So around the time after I recorded that episode that could have been, the week after that wasn't too heavy. The week leading up to New Year. And so I gave my body the chance to recuperate a bit more. Because it really wasn't feeling well either. Spent that time recuperating, planning out some stuff for work, doing whatever work I can, but mostly recuperating. I found myself thinking, okay, I can only do so much physically. So I'm just gonna lie down, rest, and go through these hundreds and hundreds of articles that I've saved on Flipboard, which, you know, I go through Flipboard and like, oh, that's interesting, oh, that's interesting, oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna read these all later, like I've ever had time to read them. And I never read them, you know, dating as far back as 2017. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna read as many as I can, go through these articles, see what's bullshit, see what's worth saving, just try and figure it out. Relax, read some interesting shit. So, you know, I was reading about quantum physics and really interesting movie articles and interviews and music tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff. And I came across this article, which was fairly recent, with Paul McCartney. And the title of the article was, Paul McCartney Tells Why Good Things Always Happen After Bad Moments. Which I was like, okay, interesting. At that time with my mindset, I didn't really believe that. I'm like, do good things happen after bad moments? I don't know. So then he tells this story about earlier in the Beatles' career where it was one of those freezing cold nights. They're in their tour van and it was a slope and the road was very icy and they basically just skid all the way down, uncontrollably down this slope, and then, you know, stopped at the bottom. Van was fucked. All the things like, how the fuck are we gonna get back to Liverpool? It's a grim situation. Obviously, like, you're stuck in the middle of the night in the 60s where you can't exactly call AA. Just trying to figure out how the fuck are we gonna get out of here? And here's the annoying thing, like, he can't remember who said what, so I'm just gonna assign random Beatles that I think would have said these things. So apparently somebody said, well, what are we gonna do now? And then one of them, and he can't remember which, said, oh well, something will happen. And to Paul McCartney was like, wow, that is the greatest quote ever, and I can't deny it. That is actually a really good mantra to live one's life by. It's interesting, that article probably wouldn't have turned up if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, that Get Back documentary came out, because suddenly there was all these articles about the Beatles. And if you remember in my previous episode, previous or the one before, I can't remember which, I think it's the previous one, I was talking about how Get Back, the documentary Get Back, really affected me. And then to read that article and to hear that, I don't know, it somehow just clicked, you know? Something clicked in my head which went, those aren't bad words to live by. Something will happen. Because you can't deny that something always does. Whether it's you that initiates it or someone else, something will happen. Like you look back at your own history, you think about all the bad times, and you got out of them. Why? Because something happened. And whether it's you that initiated it, or whether it's the universe or people or whatever, something happens. Something always does. Like, it's the same philosophy, I guess, as, you know, like, life is a circle. Sometimes things are up, sometimes things are down, but it always is in a circle. Yeah, sure, fair enough. And I'm pretty sure you could pull out any number of quotes or philosophies that pretty much state the same thing. Something will happen. Those of you that love the movie The Crow, and I know some people, some friends of mine who really, really love The Crow, you know, there's that classic quote, "It can't rain all the time." It's also a good quote. Although at the end of the movie, character does die, so there's that. But yeah, something will happen. I don't know why I really liked that idea. You know, I always find myself at different times in my life looking for an idea or philosophy to help guide me, you know? Whether it's, you know, looking towards my mentors or finding new inspirations or anything, you know? Throughout my life, there's always been like, okay, no, this is how I'm gonna do things right now. This idea fits with where I am at this point in time. And for the past week, it's actually worked out pretty okay. I realized that I've been going through a lot of undue stress and anxiety because of shit that hasn't even happened yet. The past 3 months, I've been stressing out like as if this was a big chess table, and I'm trying to think of move 6, 7, and 8, but I'm still on move 1. Now, approaching life like chess isn't, you know, a bad idea. And that doesn't mean that I'm not pre-planning things, you know? You still have to plan. But again, the other thing with chess is, if your opponent does something you don't expect, then you adapt. And same with life as well. Like, you can plan up the wazoo, but shit's gonna happen. And that was a big part of why I was feeling so shitty all the time. Like, I'm looking at things like, okay, I've got this shoot going on now, and then I've got this day that's free, so I can just rest in this half of the day and then do some editing at the other end of the day and prep for the next meeting that's happening on the next day. Let's say as an example. So then that shoot happens, I'm fucking exhausted because I didn't realize how heavy that shoot was. And then the day that I'm supposed to be free and only recuperate for half a day, I end up recuperating the entire fucking day. And it's still not enough, I'm still tired. But by that point, I'm not really resting my mind because I'm stressing over, okay, now I haven't done the task that I wanted to do today. And I've got this meeting tomorrow that's going to take up this much time. And then the next day that I'll be able to have it is maybe this day, which I already planned to do something else. So now I got to put that on top of that other day. So now I'm stressing over Thursday when Monday hasn't happened yet, you know? The past 3 months has been a lot of that. So thinking about things in this way, that something will happen, you know, and just approaching it like that. I started to catch up on all the things that I hadn't done. There was a comfort in that statement that if I don't manage to do this today, it's okay. You'll be able to figure out another way to do it later on. If you don't meet this deadline, it's okay. Because something will happen and things will right itself. It's not expecting everything else in the world to fix things to make sure I'm okay. It's just knowing that you'll figure it out. Either you'll figure it out or someone will come and help or something will happen. And it's so far it's been helping my mood quite a bit. Like, I've managed to get a lot of shit done that I've been stressing about for the past month. It's weird. Especially since, out of the Beatles, I'm not the biggest fan of Paul McCartney. I totally respect the dude. I mean, dude's incredibly talented. But, like I said before, like, you know, the Beatle that I relate to the most is George. It's weird. A big part of why I was like, Paul, is because the dude seems to be the most unnecessarily positive person in the world to the point that it bugs me, you know? Like, you listen to a Paul McCartney song from the Beatles and you can almost tell, like, oh, this song sounds happy and joyous as fuck. This is probably Paul. This one has a bit of a dark edge. That's probably John. I kind of get that positivity now. I can't imagine myself being that positive because I'm a dude who was a teenager in the 90s. We are filled with cynicism. But yeah, it's been working out. Like, there have been so many moments where I'm like, annoyance and anger and rage starts filling me up over something that's pissing me off, and then I think about that statement and it makes me feel a little bit better, and it helps me to approach shit a little bit better as well. And knock on wood, I hope this keeps up. Like, I really hope this isn't just a short fad that dissipates after like 2 weeks. Fingers crossed. Let's see what next week's episode is, and I hope I'm still in a good mood. If you ask me right now, yeah, I am still tired, physically. But there's a bit more drive now. There's a bit more positivity. There's not as much worry. There are concerns, but there's not as much anxiety. Even physically, I'm still not feeling too well. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was something I ate last week or partied too hard on Christmas. I don't know. But something's going on physically, and I hope it's not, you know what? Pretty sure. I've been taking a few RTK tests. Even the fact that I'm not physically feeling too well, it's kind of like, okay, no, something will happen. Like, if you're sick, eventually you'll get better. Like, there's only 2 ways it can go. If you're sick, you either get better or you get worse and you die. Like, there's not really an in-between. So, see how it goes. Something will happen. I almost feel like a self-help positivity guru saying all this shit, but I mean, hey, that's what's going on with me right now. Like, the cynicism is still there, but I am, at the moment, at present at least, enjoying the fact that I don't feel like a grumpy, tired, stressed out, angry little fuck. It does feel good to feel good. So yeah, that's how I'm starting 2022. Not with any big resolutions, not with any big plans. There are things that I would like to do, and I hope that I get to do them. We'll see how it goes. Because even if it gets rough, something will happen.